I'm here with Greg Munden, owner of Munden Trucking, Munden Ventures. Greg, it is good to see you again.
Good to see you too, John.
And I want to talk to you a little bit today about dash cams. We've been seeing a huge rise of dash cams all across the trucking industry. Can you shed a little bit of light why it's happening now?
Well, I think the technology's come a long ways, first of all. I mean, it's to get a really good quality dash cam, it's way more affordable than it ever was before. So I think that's number one. I think number two, everybody in the public seems to have an iPhone camera going at every instance of any occurrence that's happening. And I think the trucking industry is looking for a way to capture, the information from their perspective in terms of things that happen on the road, incidents, near misses, those kind of things. I think those are probably the two primary things: the cost and really the need for the industry to protect themselves.
If a truck has an incident on the road, can you take the footage and the evidence from the dash cam and use that in a court in Canada now?
You can. There's some caveats to that. One is the footage must be complete. So you can't, edit out a very small piece of it and provide any editing to that actual footage. That would make it inadmissible. A court would want to see a period of time leading into the incident and probably post-incident to make sure that they've captured all of the relevant information. But if you meet that criteria, also obviously very helpful if the camera that you're using has GPS location built in, has time and date stamp, those kind of things, which really just help to build your case and make it more evidentiary for
so
court.
You're getting away from the he said, she said aspect by having that. I know you've got a camera in your hand. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about the key features that you get with that. Also, is a camera that you would use in a commercial application any different from what a person may have inside their automobile?
Well, like every piece of technology, they range from very low end to extremely high end and everything in between. Honestly, today you can get a really feature-packed camera for a relatively low cost that probably people would use personally, and that you could be very comfortable using in a commercial setting as well. These cameras that we've sold a lot of these Garmin 45s. They are probably would be considered kind of a middle of the road camera in terms of price point, but really packed with features. This has everything from the date and time stamp that we talked about to the GPS location. It automatically records if it senses an incident, so it has a G-force detector in it. If it reaches a certain amount of G-forces, it presumes that's an incident, and it'll flag and mark that. You could actually take a piece of footage off this camera, Bluetooth sync it to your phone, your smartphone, and send it to your office immediately without any need to pull a memory card or anything like that. So really a lot of good. This goes even further. It has lane departure warning to assist that you can have on or off, and all sorts of capabilities in a really small package that is very affordable.
Okay. Now, in a trucking application, would that be permanently mounted and hardwired in for charging?
It's really the customer's choice. We recommend hardwiring it.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is discover after an incident that either a driver's removed it because it's simply suctioned to the window with a power cord going down to the cigarette lighter. So we recommend hardwiring them all in. Makes it more permanent. Quite honestly, without cords running all over the dash, drivers just simply forget they're there. They just do their job in the background and monitor the situation ahead. So simple, constant power. You don't have to worry about accessorial power operating that cigarette lighter to have it on when you need it on. So.
I'm assuming that installing them is something that you can do in the back of your shop.
Yep, we install, and they're generally, it varies with every different vehicle, the type of access you have behind the dash, and those kind of things to access power. But quite honestly, installation of these, hardware installation of these can often be done in an hour and a half or 2 hours tops. So,
well, that's great, Greg. One last question. Whenever it comes to technology, there is always user acceptance.
Yep.
How do you deal with that from a driver's acceptance point of view, and how have you heard that maybe other trucking companies are addressing that as well, so it becomes a positive versus something to worry about?
I guess it's like all change. Talking about it early, talking about it with your drivers before the camera shows up mounted in the truck, so that they're aware of both why you're doing it, the reasons for it, and what they can expect of it. Companies that I know of, don't sit and monitor hours of footage of what a truck's activity is. They need this in the event of a serious issue. And quite honestly, in most instances, or many instances that I've heard of, this has been a key to defending the driver and actually helping them to make the case. Because, I mean, we all know a truck is an easy mark out there, and very often something happens and people quickly look to blame the truck for the cause. But in a high percentage of the cases, after the investigation's done, it's really determined that it was, in many cases, somebody else that caused the issue. This really takes away all of the conjecture and opinions, and it's kind of a picture speaks 1,000 words, they say, and video probably speaks 1,000,000. So,
so true, so true. So in actuality, this is really a driver's friend that's out there.
Yeah, there's implementation's key. Talking with your drivers about it. There are companies that are moving down the path, not just with forward-facing cameras, but with driver-facing cameras. That's definitely a much more touchy, much more sensitive area that you need to do your research on before you go down the driver-facing camera path. But forward-facing camera, I in my experience with the fleets that we've worked with our own fleet, acceptance is not an issue.
No, that's perfect, Greg. Well, if you're an owner-operator or you run a fleet of vehicles, if you have some more questions additional to what we just talked about, feel free to reach out to Greg. And Greg, how can someone get a hold of you to talk about the dash cams? What's the easiest way?
Lots of ways. I mean, just give us a call. You can call our parts department. You can call me directly, 250-828-2268. You can reach out by email, gmunden@mundentrucking.ca, or just go to our website, mundentrucking.ca, and find a bunch of information on there and different ways you can contact us as well.
That's perfect. Greg, thank you very much again for sharing this with the industry.
All right. Thanks for coming by.